Ohio State, again, the game of the week, the game of the year. Hell, folks, this could be the game of the century or the century upon century upon century, third century of college football. Michigan, Ohio State, 11-0 for the second year in a row. Brett, do you know how many times an 11-0 teams, two 11-0 teams have played each other in college football history in a regular season game? This is the third time ever. 2006, 2022, 2023. That's how legendary of a run they have. Two of the three times it's ever happened is taking place, and we all get to be a part of it as fans. Michigan's favored by 3.5. Over-under is 46.5 points for the best two scoring defenses in all of college football. Here's the ask here. We've been doing this for 3 years. It started right before they started the Wisconsin game, or no, Wisconsin game, I think the third or fourth game of the 2021 season. I said, if you'd like to meet Michigan to beat Wisconsin, like the video. So I think Michigan's like 32 of 33 in regular seasons games since we started this. So I'm telling you, if you're a Michigan fan right now, don't be sitting there Saturday if Michigan loses and you come back and say, Yoder asked me to like the video. I didn't like the video. What's going to happen is you're going to feel so terrible by yourself. And then I'm going to get a list of all the people who watched it, all the people who liked it. If your name's not on there, we're banning you from the show for life. So put out the good vibes. Don't jinx it. Wolverine Alaska. I see that $20 super chat, Wolverine Alaska. He's liking the video. We'll get to that here in just a few moments. Like this video, Michigan, Ohio State preview. And I'm going to give you my prediction for this game, which, folks, I am calling this the game of the century. In my opinion, with everything that's been going on, Michigan turning the tables, getting the last two wins, the Connor Stallion scandal, maybe the involvement of Ohio State. There's a lot of people saying that, including University of Michigan Regent Jordan Acker in the last 24 hours or so. No Jim Harbaugh, okay? This is the last year of the Big Ten that you and I grew up with, and the Big Ten that's been there forever, right? We're going to have 4 teams from the West Coast. No more Rose Bowl, no more Big Ten, Pac-12. This makes this, in my opinion, the most anticipated regular season game in the history of this sport. Let's take a little deeper dive into the matchup. Ohio State traveling north, right? 11-0, both teams are 8-0 in the Big Ten. Michigan's got a better scoring offense right now, scoring 5 points more per game, number 11 in the country to number 24 ranked Ohio State scoring offense. But this is the number 1 versus number 2 scoring defense in the country. Michigan's favored by 3.5 points. Obviously, you guys all know this. The game is on Fox for, I think, the third or fourth year in a row. At 12 o'clock from the Big House. Game of the century. Gosh, I just can't wait. I mean, I am thinking about this game 24 hours a day, honestly. I have not thought about this game a single hour over the last, probably like a month or so, but gosh, since I came home from the Maryland game on Sunday, this is all I have been thinking about. Let's do this too. Type some BOSAs down in the chat. Just remember, the effort you put in this week. I went to the Rose Bowl once with my dad, Brett, and we passed a car going, you had USC all over it because they're in town. And every time we'd see a USC, we just try and drive faster than them because we were putting in more effort than a USC fan. We went for like a jog, guy running by with the USC shorts. We just had to put our effort was the effort Michigan had. Now, it didn't work out. It was a better USC team than Michigan was, but we're going to change that narrative because it's worked for 2 seasons in a row. Comment BOSA over and over and over if you've been with us on this political campaign to change the future of Michigan football. Let's take a look at the positions, right? We're going to go through the offense. We're going to go through the defense. I'm going to give you my take on both sides of the ball, who's got the advantage on offense, quarterback all the way down, and on defense. And we start here in the Michigan Football Report with the quarterback position. J.J. McCarthy, Kyle McCord, the 2 recruits that were right at the top of their class in 2021. Ryan Day chose Kyle McCord, which good decision, bad decision, it's up for you to decide. But this is in the spring of their sophomore year. I think Kyle McCord might have wanted to come to Michigan, actually, funny enough, but Michigan didn't recruit him that hard. Ohio State didn't recruit J.J. McCarthy that hard, and McCarthy probably wanted to go to Ohio State. So it's kind of crazy. Both these players, maybe not their number 1 school, etc., but both these players probably at a time when they committed to their current school may have favored the other one when they were sophomores in high school. McCarthy's passing the ball at a higher clip, 74% to 66% for Kyle McCord. McCord has passed the ball like Ohio State quarterbacks do pretty much basically every year at a higher yardage clip. Both quarterbacks, McCord's got 22 passing touchdowns to JJ's 18, but JJ has the rushing touchdowns to go with it. Both have thrown 4 interceptions. I think what the difference comes down to, where I think I am making my pick to be JJ McCarthy over Kyle McCord, is the fact that Michigan converts on third down, number 4 in the country, 52% of the time, while Ohio State is at 46.5% of the time. And look, Michigan converts at the highest rate I've ever seen. It's really tough to fact check these things because there's so many things that have happened, but I had some stats going early in the season, but I just haven't been able to keep up with it. Is like through 6 or 7 games, Michigan was the highest in college football history at converting 3rd and 8 or longer. But I haven't been able to keep up with the last 6 or 7 games because you got to go through basically every single season, week by week by week. But I think that alone gives Michigan the nod at quarterback. I think anyone with the eye test say that Kyle McCord has a lot of talent, but that J.J. McCarthy has played better this year. He's won bigger games, right? J.J. McCarthy won this game last season, went into Columbus and beat Ohio State. And so just seeing that, I think that the quarterback position advantage goes to Michigan. How about running backs? All right. Both schools have big-time running backs. And it's a very similar situation sometimes, in some ways, to the quarterback, is that the 2021 class had Diamond Edwards and TreVeyon Henderson as maybe 2 of the top 3 or 4 players. And Ohio State potentially could have both of them, but they chose TreVeyon Henderson. John Blaze, I see you, baby. We'll get you here in just a second. We're done with our preview, our number 2 and number 1 super chatters from last season, Wolverine, Alaska, and John Blaze coming through. I love you guys. TreVeyon Henderson has come back. He was a 5-star. He was the best running back in the country in the 2021 class. Third year, was an absolute dynamo as a true freshman in 2021. Last 4 games after coming back from injury, right? 15 carries for 146, 2 touchdowns, 13 for 63 in a game he didn't really play in the second half, and a touchdown versus Michigan State. 22 for 128, plus 80 yards receiving at Rutgers and at Wisconsin on October 28th, the game he came back. 24, 162, and a touchdown. Folks, I think this is the number 1 key to the game for Michigan. Michigan has got to contain TreVeyon Henderson. If Ohio State can steal Michigan's blueprint from the past 2 years, set the tone with the running game, they're probably going to go into Michigan Stadium and win this game. And the past proves it. I mean, let's look at the last 5 games. And if you go back to 5 years prior to this, 5 years prior to that, 5 years prior to that, almost every single time you're going to see 5 out of 5 checklists like you do right here. 2022, 2021, Michigan absolutely dominated on the ground. 252 and 297. Got the win. Prior to that, 19, 18, 17, even 16, even 15, even 14, 264, 171, 226. The team that can run the ball, that's not forced to pass the ball 2/3 of the time like Ohio State was with Coleridge Stroud the last 2 years, wins this game. A dominant passing game. It's fun to watch, baby. It's exciting. It puts points on the board against Rutgers or Maryland or East Carolina. But when you get one of the big boys, and your conference who knows how you play, look, at the end of the day, I'm going to take the team that can run the ball, dominate the line of scrimmage, take out 8, 7, 6, 10 minutes of clock time on one possession. I think Michigan needs to have the running game. Stop TreVeyon Henderson. Go back to the 2022, 2021 offensive line dominance. Get Blake Corum, Diamond Edwards, and Kalel Mullings some yards. Michigan then can win this ball game. But who do you guys think is the better running back? Right now, going into the game, Blake Corum or TreVeyon Henderson? I want to know what you guys think on this one. Corum is a year older than Henderson, but for all intents and purposes, they've both been kind of starter-level players for the past 3 seasons, although Henderson did miss a lot of time in the 2022 season and wasn't actually able to play against Michigan last season. Let me tell you guys about Prize Picks, the presenting sponsor of today's Michigan Football Report. I am not a daily fantasy guy, but I've been playing Prize Picks all season long, and I absolutely love it. So I keep inviting them to come back to sponsor one of our shows. It's super easy. You just pick more or less on player stats to win up to 25 times your money. With Prize Picks this week, I am selecting, well, I'll tell you who I'm selecting. I gave it to our employees because some of them are winning such huge money. I said, send me your Prize Picks. I'll show them on the show, and I'm going to mirror all of your picks. So one guy sent me this one. Christian McCaffrey going more than a half a touchdown. So Christian McCaffrey is going to score. He's going more. Sam Howell, more as well, 257.5 passing yards. Who picked that one? Do you know? I can't remember.
That came from Petey.
By
the way.
Yeah.
No, it's Christian McCaffrey yards.
Oh.
Half a yard. That's a freebie. They're giving you a freebie this week.
I'm not sure if I understand that. He's playing, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
they're giving you a free pick.
All right, I didn't even recognize that one. I just assumed it had to be touchdown. How about this one? A couple guys that Michigan beat last year, Aiden O'Connell, Coleridge Stroud, NFL rookies. I like this less because the Raiders are a mess. More Stroud in November. He throws for a lot of yards. He loses a lot of games, especially this week.
It's in Jacksonville, though.
That's fine. It'll probably be a little chillier there than expected. Those couple picks that the guys from Chat Sports gave me this week. Also, the great thing about Prize Picks, the only daily fantasy sports game in the business that allows you to have a reboot policy if a player gets injured in the first half, doesn't come back for the second half. He's basically taken out of your Prize Picks entry. The entry lives on without that selection. Pretty awesome. It's simple to play. I can make my picks and submit them in less than 60 seconds. I play Monday Night Football. I play Sunday Night Football, Thursday Night Football, and I play college football every single Saturday. So make sure you guys launch the app Thursday, Wednesday, Friday this week. Take a look at the picks for Michigan, Ohio State. Choose more or less for TreVeyon Henderson, Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, J.J. McCarthy, Kyle McCord, Marvin Harrison Jr. Put some money to work. You pick 3, you put down 10, you make 3 picks more or less, you win 50. You can win up to 25 times your money, and you can get up to $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS with promo code CLNS. Go get started with Prize Picks. It's super easy, it's super fun, and you get a $100 deposit match with promo code CLNS. The best 2 rushing teams that these teams have faced this year, Ohio State and Michigan, their common opponents. And the best 2 rushing teams of all of the common opponents are Penn State and Maryland, right? The teams that Michigan played the last 2 weeks. Let's take a look here. Michigan, 227 yards a couple weeks ago against Penn State, the number 1 rush defense in college football. I think at the time, maybe the number 2. Now the number 3. And 141 against the number 33 ranked rush defense, Maryland, this past week. How about Ohio State? 79 and 62. Ohio State fans are going to say to you, they're going to say, well, TreVeyon Henderson wasn't there during that game. But go back and look at the play selection of those games. They tried to run. Then they gave up when it wasn't working. And that's the same story that you've seen in a lot of games in the Ryan Day era. If it's working, they'll keep rolling with it. But the second they aren't breaking off chunks of yards, they haven't scored 14 points by the middle of the second quarter, they will abandon the run like you can't believe. And that's what Michigan needs to do. Force them to pass the ball this coming Saturday. So I'm doing it as a push on this one. I'm giving TreVeyon Henderson, Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, I'm giving it a push because Henderson has come back with an absolute vengeance. I think I'm calling that one a push coming up against in this game coming up on Saturday. Some people will disagree. I think Ohio State fans are going to say, no way. Ohio State's got a way better running game. Michigan fans are going to say, the Don, Blake Corum, Heisman candidate last year, going to break the Michigan all-time touchdown record. They've got a better running backs. I don't think you can take anything away from either of those teams and their players. So I'm going with a push on that one. By the way, as we're going to do a cut here, I just got a text from a player from Ohio State player, father of an Ohio State player. Might have something on the table here coming up. If you guys want us to have the father of a major Ohio State player come on the show, I will talk about that here in just a second. But I'm giving Ohio State and Michigan the tie at running back, both a check mark. Michigan the edge at quarterback. How about wide receivers? All right, wide receivers is a no-brainer for me. And if you look at the guys they have at Ohio State, it's just 5-star after 5-star after 5-star after 5-star. And these are the players that everyone knows. Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, 2 of the top wide receivers in the 2021 class, both true juniors. But Harrison is the player. He wasn't even a top 20 or top 25 player in that 2021 class, but Egbuka was a top 10 player, a 5-star. Harrison wasn't. And there's Cardell Tate, the true freshman. Now, Julian Fleming, who's I think a 4th-year player out there, he was a 5-star himself, has more catches than Cardell Tate, but less yards. So I put the one with the most yards there on this graphic. This does not include the tight end, Kate Stover. This is the best wide receiver group in all of college football. And as such, with Roman Wilson kind of uncertain at this point on what he's going to do, left the game injury, took a shot to the head. I'll say this about Ohio State wide receivers. Hey, Marvin Harrison, go off, young man. You're one of the best receivers in the history of the Big Ten. Go off. You want to have 185 yards receiving? That's totally fine. Because if I am Jesse Minter in this Michigan football defense, all of those yards happen in between the 20s. We bracket you. We stop you inside the 20. You don't get in the end zone. Maybe get in the end zone once. It's a lucky play when Michigan decides to blitz in a random time, etc. But go off, young man, because if you are getting the yards, I personally think that leads to a better outcome for Michigan. Let's talk about wide receivers there as I'm giving Ohio State 2 check marks in this matchup. And that's a little different than we got at the other positions, right? Ohio State's taken 2 check marks when we come to this one. Running backs, not that we're there. So I've got quarterback Michigan. Running backs, we're calling that a push, but wide receiver, 2 check marks for this game. Let's talk about offensive line here. Offensive line is an area that I believe both teams have struggled in this season. What Michigan needs right now is the 2021 and 2022 offensive line vibes is not come to fruition as we'd have expected in this season. You had 3 guys come from Pac-12 schools, 3 guys who were starters at Pac-12 schools, 2 from Stanford, right? A center plus Miles Hinton. Then you've got Ladarius Henderson coming over from Arizona State. Yet, I don't think any of those guys has been an excellent player this year. I think Michigan right now has their 2, Trevor Keegan and Zach Sinter are absolute studs at the left guard and the right guard. The tackles right now, Carson Barnhart struggling a little bit. Struggled against Penn State. Moved over to left tackle in the second half against Maryland. Struggled against Maryland. Miles Hinton has been a starter for 3 games, came back and started against Maryland. He didn't have that great a performance himself. So when you look at both these offensive lines, it was the weakness against Ohio State. Coming into the season, it's continued to be a weakness for Ohio State, and I don't think Michigan's offensive line has done anything to change my perspective of them after they struggled the first few weeks of the season. So in other ways, unless Michigan brings back the 2021 and 2022 offensive line vibes, I'm doing one of those right that you see on the screen there, a little shrug, right? I'm just doing one of these, and I'm giving them a shrug because I don't think either team has an advantage in this matchup, offensive line for Michigan or Ohio State. Are you an Ohio State fan? Well, then get the hell out of this video. But if you're a Michigan fan, subscribe now to the channel. Doing one of these here, shrug for Michigan-Ohio State offensive line matchup. But Michigan fans, subscribe now. Let's keep supporting the show. Keep supporting the YouTube channels, podcasts. Support everybody who's covered Michigan right now, including us. Give me a subscribe on this channel, on this video. If you are watching and have yet to do so, youtube.com/MichiganTV. Send it to all of your friends. It's the Michigan Football Report by Chat Sports. How about tight ends? All right. I think a lot of Ohio State fans say, oh my gosh, Cade Stover's the best tight end in college football. He's Brock Bowers 2.0, yada, yada, yada. I disagree. I don't think Cade Stover is the difference maker that Ohio State fans make him out to be. And why is that? Well, take a look at this photo right here. Do you remember this play? Maybe the play of the year. Wasn't a touchdown, wasn't an interception, wasn't a fumble recovery, wasn't a kickoff return or a blocked field goal or anything like that. But when it was a 2-score game and Ohio State could have cut it to a field goal game, Mike Sanderson making up about 10 feet and chasing down Cade Stover, knocking the ball out of his hands, I think could have been the play of the year for Michigan last year. Now I'll say this, we see the bottom of the screen. Hey, Cade, do you remember Mikey Sanderson? He's put up good numbers this year. 38 catches, over 500 yards receiving, 5 touchdowns. But if you go back and watch last year's game, there were at least 3 separate times where Cade Stover won the first quarter, right? When they went for it, when they passed it, I think it was 3rd and 1. One in that play right there with Mikey Sanderson knocked out of his hands. And then on Stroud's last pass of his Ohio State career in the Big Ten at least, not counting the Georgia game, it was the ball going right through Stover's hands and then Makari Page intercepting it. So he had 3 plays last year that had he caught the ball on 3rd and short, where did a play action pass went down the field to him in the end zone for a touchdown, and then they were down by 3 scores at the end of the game. That one probably didn't matter as much. That could have been game-changing plays, and he failed on all of them. So I'm giving Michigan the advantage here. Colston Loveland, A.J. Barner, I think are going to come up bigger in this game and have really, in my opinion, all season, other than what I would call vanity stats than Cade Stover. Predict the score, Michigan, Ohio State. Let's see what you guys are thinking for this game. If you're an Ohio State fan watching this video, thank you for watching. We appreciate the audience. But say again, click the ads, support the sponsors, support Prize Picks as well. Pick the score here. Let me know what you guys are thinking on this score prediction. I've given my score prediction once this week, I think. I'm going to give it again to you right here. Now, why do I pick the score? For 2 years in a row, I have picked Michigan to score in the 40s, and last year I nailed it. In 2021, I nailed it right on the dot. I said 42, so I'm going back to there. 42-24 Michigan. In my heart of hearts, I don't think either team is going to score in the 40s, but I'm going 42-24 Michigan. They scored 42 in 2021, 45 in 2022. I'm going back to that 42 number from the 2021 season. Predict the score. I've got 42-24. Keep it rolling here before we switch over to the defense, as I gave Michigan the advantage at quarterback, push at running back, Ohio State the big advantage at wide receiver, push but one of these at offensive line, and then Michigan the very slight but definite advantage at tight end. Let's take a look on the defensive side of the ball. There's four positions that we're going to talk about here. Defensive line. You could break that out to interior and internal defensive line, but we're not going to do that. We're just going to go with the defensive line in general. We're going to talk linebackers. We're going to talk cornerbacks. And then I've combined, actually, which is kind of me counter to what you guys think, safety and nickel into one position. So let's start at the defensive line. All right. Ohio State fans, again, they're going to say, I've seen these predictions from all the Ohio State guys this week. Oh, we got the advantage here, advantage here, advantage here. No, you don't. Michigan has a better defensive line than Ohio State at this point. And for me, it is not even a question. Michigan goes 8 deep at this defensive line. You've got Mason Graham. I saw Kenneth Grant on Heisman list this week, top 10 Heisman. He is not even starting at Michigan. Chris Jenkins will be a top 20 pick in the NFL draft. Derek Moore will be a first-round pick next year or the year after on the outside. Josiah Stewart was one of the best defensive ends in college football last year at Coastal Carolina. He is not even a starter on Michigan. Jalen Harrell, Braden McGregor, those guys are starting for a reason. They know how to beat Ohio State. They know how to get the quarterback against Ohio State. I am giving Michigan the advantage at the defensive line. I don't care what JT Tuamala does or Jack Sawyer. And I think Ohio State is actually, frankly, kind of weak on the interior of their defensive line. Let's talk about linebackers. All right. Michigan's linebackers are good. Michael Barrett, obviously. Junior Colson. Then you've got the backups. Okay. Ernest Hausman. But what about Ohio State? I'm giving the advantage for 2 reasons. Tommy Eichenberg, who didn't come up big against Ohio State last year, but has had a 2-year run as good as any Big Ten linebacker, maybe since Devin Bush in 2016 and 2017. But the loss of Chris Partridge, the linebacker coach for Michigan, I think has got to push me over the edge. You guys know how it is. You've got jobs, I hope at least. When things happen at your place of work, or let's say you're in a community or a group and leadership changes, it doesn't happen overnight. And I think that's just the difference for Ohio State here with Michigan losing the linebacker coach. I've got to give Tommy Eichenberg probably would be the best linebacker of all these guys, slightly over Junior Colson. And then Michigan's linebackers coach, it just doesn't work for the program anymore. So I'm giving the advantage to Ohio State at the linebacker position. Let's talk about cornerback. Cornerback is an interesting one. So Ohio State's got Denzel Ward. They've got quite a few players on the they've got 3 quarterbacks deep. Michigan's got Will Johnson. They've got quite a few guys make an impact. But I think overall, top talent here. I'm going with Michigan. I'm going with Will Johnson. I have got Michigan push with Ohio State because of the top-level players that both teams have. Will Johnson, Denzel Ward. I'm going push at the cornerback position. At safety and nickel. So we're talking Makari Page. We're talking Rod Moore. We're talking Mike Sainristil versus the same group for Ohio State. Ransom's not playing, right? I'm going advantage on Michigan. Do you remember last year? 3-year starter for this team. Lathan Ransom. Now, 2-year starter last year, 3-year starter this year. He got hurt. Very sorry to hear that, Lathan Ransom. October 28th against Wisconsin. But you guys remember this call. Donovan Edwards down the sidelines. Gets past Ransom. Donovan Edwards. Touchdown. Michigan. The Don. Well, he's not playing. And despite the fact that he gave up those touchdowns to Donovan Edwards, he still is a very high-level player. Got injured. Ohio State's defense is obviously better with him. And given he's not playing, I think that's the difference at safety and nickel. Even with him, I might give Michigan the advantage because I think Rod Moore has been playing excellent since he came back from injury. I think Makari Page has always been a solid player. And I think Mike Sainristil is the MVP of Michigan's 2023 team. I'm talking offense, I'm talking defense, I'm talking special teams, and frankly, could have been the MVP last year, might have been, depending on what categories or what metrics that you take seriously. These are two elite defenses, though. Ohio State is much better than last season. That's a fact. Jim Knowles has changed his defense up. He was a man defense guy. We saw that against Michigan. Cornelius Johnson, left side. Cornelius Johnson, deep. Colson Loveland over the right hash mark. And then man coverage in the run game. Diamond average 75 yards. Diamond average 85 yards. The reason I am taking Michigan to win this game, the reason I think Michigan's got a better defense than Ohio State is this right here. You guys remember this? The start of the fourth quarter last year. They panned to the sidelines, and Mike Sainristil, the wide receiver in 2021 in the Big Ten championship team, switched over to get more playing time, bigger impact, and frankly had an NFL career, was standing up on a bench, gathered every single player in this defense, and basically said, in no uncertain terms, this is what we play for. This is what you came to Michigan for. This is what our entire season comes down to. We want to take every single thing we have and beat these guys here in the fourth quarter. And for me, Ohio State does not have this leadership. A guy like Mikey Sainristil, a 3-star wide receiver from Massachusetts, who was also a cornerback recruit, etc., came in his 5th year down in the program. That is the kind of guy. You've got 5th year Mikey Sainristil, the most winning player in the history of this program, Mike Barrett. You've got J.J. McCarthy, the winningest quarterback percentage-wise, right, of any quarterback who started 20 games or more in college football in the last 10 seasons. You got a guy like Blake Corum who has more heart than any player that's played in Michigan football, maybe since Mike Hart himself. The offensive line that's dominated Ohio State the last 2 years, I think the only advantage Ohio State might have right now in this game that's definite is the wide receiver group and the fact that Jim Harbaugh is in the field. I'm not giving Ryan Day the advantage, but I'm giving them an advantage of the fact that Jim Harbaugh isn't there. Let me know what you guys think on the defensive front. Give me an M or an O. Which team has a better defense in this game? I think it's probably, in my opinion, Georgia, maybe Alabama as of late. It's probably the best two defenses in all of college football. Give me an M or give me an O. And as always, light up the comment section, live chat, or the comment section. If you're watching this preview on Wednesday, we'll post it about noon or so Eastern time on Wednesday. Comment BOSA as many times as you can. Just remember, the effort you put in the comment section is going to bleed over to the vibes of this program. Go Blue. Beat Ohio State again. Let's get rolling in the comments. I will see you guys. I'll have a video out on Thanksgiving. I'll have a video out on Friday. Go Blue.